Hello everyone, Josh Ybarra, doing my Module 7. Um, just, I guess I'll just jump right into it. The human resource frame, according to Bowman and Deal, from what I could gather watching the video on YouTube, obviously it talks about how they view it as a family and not a mechanism, and I think that's extremely important, especially when you're dealing with as many people as, say, an administrator would deal with, teachers and other staff members, paras, custodians, whoever, as well as your students, your parents, and everything else. It's very important, I think, to treat it as a family. I really like the idea and behind it, as far as I feel like it's very democratic in the approach. Leaders need to be, as it said, in a sense, servants, and doing what is going to benefit. And I see, I've said this multiple times throughout the classes I've taken so far, that the principal that I work for is very, very good at this, and he knows when he needs to take over and handle things. When maybe the teachers or the staff or whatever aren't getting things done, he knows that moment and he gets it taken care of. But he also knows that he is there to make things for us better, as well as make things for our students better. And he does an extremely amazing job at that. So I've been able to witness that for the past 7 going on 8 years now. So that idea of being more of a democratic leadership style, in a sense, I like that, and that was one of my leadership styles anyway. But anyway, moving on, as far as how do I prioritize the people in groups, it's tough, because obviously we all believe that everybody on that list that was given to us is very important, and it's tough to kind of prioritize, because you never want to put yourself, I never want to put myself at the top, not because I don't want to be the person who has to shoulder responsibility, but because I feel I don't like people who have been teaching just as long as me, or maybe even potentially longer, taking orders from me. That's how I feel about it. Now, I understand that if I'm in that leadership position, it is a matter of me delegating or making sure things get accomplished. So the way I did it was a little different. I did use the pyramid kind of model here, and being a coach, I'll kind of relate it to what I do, coaching wise. Obviously you can look at Wooden's pyramid of success, and I don't know that there's anything on there that's more important than the other, but I kind of broke it down in a pyramid as well, and I drew this out because I'm not great with technology. But here's my beautiful pyramid. I don't know if you can see it all. I'll scoot back there. So at the top, obviously, you have students, and then right below them, parents and community. Right below that, this is where it starts to get a little shaky, but cooks, alumni, and paras. And then at the bottom, you have your office support, your custodians, your principal, your maintenance, and your teachers. And then on the side, you can see I have the arrow there. And at the top, you have most attention, and at the bottom, the least attention. So looking at this pyramid, it's not that anybody on here is more important than the other, but I think certain groups maybe garner more attention. And so, as a principal, I believe being at the bottom, or as an administrator in general, being at the bottom, you may not get as much attention as you deserve. I know our principal does more work here than he's required, but and he doesn't get the attention for it. Us teachers see it, but I don't know that everybody sees what he does. But I think that your custodians, your maintenance people, those people keep the school going. And your office, our office staff, our secretaries there are incredible. And without them, our school would shut down completely. And then obviously your teachers. And so I look at the bottom of that pyramid not as being least important, but being the foundation. And then once again, I say least attention. They're going to get the least amount of attention for anything they do. And they're going to require the least amount of attention. At the top, you have your students. They need the most attention. That's where you should be putting your attention. And obviously right below them, your parents and community. You want to keep them involved, keep them as a part of this, as it talked about with the human resource frame, the idea of communication. It was mentioned in there multiple times, so you want to keep that line of communication up between your parents and your community as well. That one there in the middle, this one here, the pink, with the cooks, the alumni, and the paras. Once again, that's where do you put them? I don't know that they get as much attention as, any more attention than the people on the bottom. So, those two there, maybe alumni might. And the only reason they wouldn't maybe get as much attention as your current community or your parents is they may not live in town or whatever. But that's kind of how I would break it down. And I think that it would be my job as an administrator to serve those people and make sure that they had all the resources they needed. And I would have to do whatever I had to do to make sure they did. Now, I'd also have to be the one who shoulders the blame. So like I said, as far as coaching is concerned, I've got 3 assistant coaches in football. I have an offensive coordinator, I have a defensive coordinator, I have a special teams coordinator. I stay out of their business. I let them do it. And then they come to me. I look at what their game plan is or what we're going to do, or we decide together as a game, what the game plan is going to be. If I see something I don't like, I voice my opinion. And if I really don't like it, I tell them, no, we're not going to do that. But in the end, I want them assuming those responsibilities and doing their job. And so, and fortunately for me, I've always had great assistant coaches who have done their job. But in the end, when it comes down to it, I tell them I have the final say. And if there's ever anything, if a game doesn't go according to plan and there's a mistake made out there, I'm going to shoulder that blame because I am the head coach. I don't care if the OC made the bad call, the defensive coordinator made the bad call. It's my responsibility to shoulder that blame no matter what. It was me. That was my decision, or it was a group decision at the very least. But in the end, I'm the one who's going to take over that responsibility. So I hope I've made sense. This kind of gets you thinking. Obviously, going into being an administrator that you're going to have to tell people, or maybe not tell people what to do, but you're going to have to be the leader, and you're going to have to delegate, and you're going to have to do these things. Trying to decide where they all fall when it comes to a hierarchy is tough, especially when you're talking. Now, if you're just talking staff, it may be a little easier. But if you're throwing in your parents, your community, and your students, then it becomes kind of a different dynamic there, and you've really got to think that through. So this is how I see it. Maybe a lot of you see it completely differently, but that's what's great about all this. So can't wait to see what everybody else's ideas are, and see you next time.